All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about a really cool design pattern that's basically a time machine for your code. It's called the Memento Pattern. And trust me, it's the secret sauce behind one of the most useful features in pretty much any application you can think of.
I mean, you've definitely been there, right? Whether you're in a text editor, a design tool, maybe even a game, you make a mistake and you desperately reach for that magic undo button. Well, how do you actually build that? And how do you do it in a way that's clean and safe? That's the exact question we're going to tackle today. See, the core idea is pretty simple to say, but it can be kind of tricky to pull off. We need to take a snapshot of an object's internal state and then be able to restore it later. But the trick is doing all of that without breaking the fundamental rules of good programming, like encapsulation.
So to really wrap our heads around this, let's walk through a scenario that I think we can all relate to. We're going to look at that universal problem of just wanting to hit undo on something we just did.
Okay, so meet our hero for today's story, a simple text editor class. It holds some text, so you type version 1 and you save the state. Then you keep typing, now it says version 2, and you save that state. But then you think, shoot, I liked version 1 better. You want to hit undo and get it back. Seems pretty straightforward, right? But as you're about to see, the most obvious way to solve this, well, it's not always the best way.
So let's look at our first try. This is the kind of code you might write when you're just trying to get something working. And hey, it does work, but it's hiding some pretty serious problems just beneath the surface.
In this first version, we've got a text editor history class. When it's time to save, it just reaches right inside the text editor object, grabs its text property, and shoves it into a list. And to undo, it just pulls the last version out of that list and pushes it back into the editor. It functions, sure, but this simple approach actually creates a tangled mess behind the scenes.
So what's really wrong with this? I mean, if it works, right? Well, this is where the cracks start to show, and it's the whole reason design patterns like Memento even exist.
Let's break down the hidden issues here. First off, tight coupling. Our history class knows way too much about how the editor is built. If we ever want to change how the editor stores its text, we have to go back and rewrite the history class too. They're stuck together. Second, this is a huge encapsulation violation. You want your objects to be like black boxes, managing their own stuff internally. This approach just blows the box wide open. Third, there's a lack of state integrity. What if the editor's state was more than just text? What about the font size, the color, the cursor position? Our simple string history can't capture any of that. And finally, all this leads to increased complexity. Suddenly, our history class is doing things it was never meant to, and it becomes this bloated, hard-to-maintain piece of code.
Okay, so how do we fix this mess? Well, this is where our real hero enters the story, the Memento Pattern. It's designed to solve these exact problems with a ton of elegance and clarity.
Now this is the key. Really pay attention to that last part without revealing the details of its implementation. That's the magic trick. It's how we get the state out of an object without breaking it open and looking at its guts. The Memento pattern works using 3 distinct roles, or players. First, you've got the originator. In our case, that's the text editor. It's the object whose state we want to save. It knows how to create this special package called a memento. The text editor memento is that package. It's just a simple, boring object that holds the state. And finally, there's the caretaker, which is our text editor history. The caretaker's job is to just hold on to these memento packages. But, and this is the most important part, the caretaker never, ever, ever looks inside the package. It just stores them and gives them back when asked. So let's look at the payoff, the before and after. It's really night and day. That tight coupling we had? Gone. The caretaker doesn't have a clue what's inside the memento. The encapsulation violation? Fixed. Only the originator has the secret key to open up the memento. State integrity? No problem. The memento can be designed to capture the entire state, no matter how complex. And that bloated complexity? All sorted out, because now each class has one simple, clear job to do. It's just cleaner.
Okay, so this memento pattern sounds pretty awesome. I think we can all agree. But the real question is, how do you know when it's the right tool for your project?
You know, it's pretty easy to get different patterns confused. You might think, couldn't I use the command pattern for this? Well, the command pattern is really about undoing actions, not just rolling back to a previous state. And prototype, that's all about cloning objects, not tracking their history. Observer is just for shouting, "Hey, I changed," to other objects. Memento has one very specific, very important job: state preservation.
So here's a little mental checklist you can run through. First, just ask yourself, is saving and restoring an object's state a core part of what I'm trying to build? Next, is it absolutely critical that I can get that state without exposing the object's private guts to the rest of the world? 3, are you literally trying to build an undo-redo feature? And finally, do you expect this object state to change a lot, and you need to manage a whole history of those changes? If you're nodding your head to these questions, then yep, you've probably found a perfect use case for the memento pattern.
Look, if you take away just one single thing from all this, let it be this. The memento pattern is your save game button for any object. It lets you create checkpoints of an object's state in a way that is clean, safe, and completely respects the boundaries of your code.
You see, the memento pattern isn't just about undoing mistakes. It's about empowering your users to be creative, to explore, to try things without being afraid of messing up. It's about building software that's more resilient and forgiving. So, what are you going to build now that you have this powerful tool in your toolbox?